What's poppin', guys? And today we are going to take a look at the DaYan GuHong version 3. Now, my first ever video on this channel was actually on the GuHong version 2. And now it's been quite a year since. So anyways, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So all we have here is the cube and nothing else but the box and the cube. So here we have the cube, and my hands just feel the slipperiest. This is the most lubiest cube I've ever unboxed out of the box. This is definitely what people experienced with the Tengen, and now I finally had an experience of my own with these DaYan cubes being over lubed to heck out of the box. It's just literally just so much covered in lube. Guess I gotta wipe this one down first. Alright, so we've got it cleaned out, just the exterior, but the interior has just way too much lube. But alright, without further ado, let's get into first turns. Oh wow. Corner cutting, phenomenal. The looseness, it's a bit more stable and a little bit loose, but oh my, that corner cutting. Reverse, not so much, but it's actually really close. Now this cube is around 54 millimeters. If I were to get anything else, that would be the 354, but this is the only one in my collection. Now out of the box, the cube feels super smooth. The magnets are a little bit clicky, but when you turn quickly, they feel super nice. Got a bit of that flex there, but still the lube is still seeping out, and I'll really need to clean this one. This is probably the smallest viable speed cube. Any smaller would be the 42 millimeters Anchi. And the shades are actually just about the same. Now this is the Tengen. It's about 1 to 1.5 millimeter bigger, and you can really feel the difference. This is really small in the hands. Tengen has super soft and super quiet turning, a bit on the crunchy side. Corner cutting is in that nice point. The Tengen, on the other hand, feels super small, super compact, yet super smooth. And the corner cutting is so sweet. Well, considering that it's really quite loose. The lube still continues to seep out for some reason. So we have here the corner. You can see how much lube there is on it. It's more of a basic design, but you can see those waves there. The geometry also looks pretty good, just as how I like with the Volk Elites. The edges also have a similar feel, but the rest of the piece is actually quite basic. But this is really well, even if the mechanism is a bit more dated compared to the complexity of the newer speed cubes out there. You can see how a bit more dated the design is. It reminds me of something like a Yulong or something, or maybe a Weilong or an Aolong. But this one is just way better. Centers also look really basic. At this point, if I were to force that much, it'd lock up this way, but it doesn't really explode, pop and explode. Let's try to force it again. Cuts, and that's where the whole thing flexes. But it's not even popping. It's actually quite nice. All right, finally. Time to compare it to the version 2. Now looking at the version 2, it's already 2020, and this GuHong version 2 is just straight out of 2012. So you can see the pieces are super primitive. You can see how old the edge looks, and the corners, you can actually look at my review. That's where I show the pieces. The feeling is also quite buttery smooth after breaking it in for a couple of days without lube, and then lubing it afterwards. The GuHong version 2 feels really smooth, but of course, as being a 2012 cube, it's super super blocky. The corner cutting is anywhere near 45, and the cube might just explode like that. I loosened my GuHong quite a little bit, so that's why it encounters pops like this. And the whole thing just came off. Alright, I quit. Now comparing to the version 3, the version 2 is just like the version 1, just with a little bit different plastic, and especially the torpedoes. Because at this time, DaYan invented torpedoes into the Zanshi, and they applied it into the GuHong as well, making it the version 2. Now from that, again, it's really quite blocky, but smooth. The speed isn't the best, but it's at a controllable one. But you might just call it slow nowadays. But it's still better than the Rubik's brand though. Now the GuHong version 3 has something that the version 2 doesn't have. Number 1, magnets. Now you can hear that there are actually magnets placed inside of the cube. And also, as you've seen in the mechanism a while ago, the pieces are so much different. Even though they're not as advanced or complex like the newer ones, this thing is still new enough to perform amazingly. It's much faster, and of course, it's not even blocky at all. But this, what you can see between 8 years from DaYan Cube to another. Alright, here's another burning question. Can you actually use the GuHong version 3 for OH? If you have much smaller hands than I do, then it's definitely viable. The turning is light, magnets are subtle, and the performance is good enough, or actually really decent for it. But for me, I find that 55.5mm cubes like the Tengen are actually the sweet spot, or even the Volklite. It also feels really good for one-handed, so that fits within my range of preference. The GuHong version 3 feels quite small in my hands, even when I'm doing one-handed. So I can't really execute that properly when the cubes are just way too small. But it's super nice as a competitor for one-handed anyways. Alright, so now that just wraps up our GuHong version 3M unboxing. So right now, we also have another one up at Simply Cube, so you can check out the link in the description below to get one of these. I actually quite recommend it, especially for the price, $12. It's super nice as a performer. It feels super smooth. It fits in the hands, especially if you have smaller hands, and it's really nice. I'll have to solve more clean break-in and setup, so I'll have to see where this goes. So I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching and for sticking around, and I will see you in the next video. Keep poppin', guys. Peace. Right, let's just open this box up and get into the GuHong version 3. Wait, what?